Okay, recording. Okay, hello. So, shall we go through? So maybe Guillaume can go through where we are with the application, what we've been thinking, what the next steps are, and maybe also a little overview on how far we think we need to go before we have something usable, or something like that. I think it would be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, sure. So, yeah, maybe I can share my screen.
Yeah.
Right. So here we have the main repository for the application, right? For a little bit of context, its name is Mailboox. It's a distributed library. A group of people that come together and you can make loans. You can loan books to other people. So basically, that's the flow. And we are making it so, yeah, let me go through a little bit of structure, and then I'll be able to explain why we did how we did it. So basically, it's a holochain application. The DNA has two zones. This is one of the most important parts. So we want to separate the loan functionality, decouple that with the book functionality, because well, we could do loans of lots of things, right? You could loan computers, you could loan cars, you could loan any kind of things. So that's why we are splitting it into zones. So the most interesting one is the loan zone, and actually on the DNA code, I think it's the part that maybe we need to do a lot of work. Basically, the loan zone contains a loan request and an actual loan. So a person can request to loan something, and then the owner of that item can accept the loan. But this is mostly a skeleton. I don't think we actually got something working, right, Victor, in the past?
No, I think that this the code that's in there is something that I started working on creating the zone, but we never got around to actually filling out the functions and stuff. So it's like this. Yeah, this is as far as we gotten on the loan. So
Yeah. All right. Maybe I was thinking the other day that maybe we could add, because what we did here, if I remember correctly, yeah, we just prioritized the most important things to work on, to have something usable. We can revisit those, but yeah, how do you feel about them? Do you want me to go a little bit over the main functions, so the endpoints?
yeah, I think so. I think we can go through them and see how far we've come, and maybe also if there are things further down that we want to go through. What can be like? What's the next step after
Right.
this? And yeah.
Right. So for the record, I'm talking about the endpoints because, yeah, in a general sense, they are the most important part in they are like the contract between zones, UI, and tests. So it's very important to get them right, and yeah, because then you can parallelize that work. That's what we did when we were working with this. And if nothing changes on that interface, everything should work as expected. So, yeah, I'll start with the book zone, which is the easiest one. It's just a collection of books. So you got your book with books information. Anyone can create a book, and then yeah, I see what I was thinking the other. No, sorry. So here we have a book, right? And the book owner is inside the book entry. That makes it so, for example, if I have one book, so for example, let's say I have, I don't know, Happy New World. Is it called Happy New World?
Brave
Or
New World, I think you got.
Brave New
Oh
World,
yeah.
yeah. In Spanish, it's Happy New World. Un mundo feliz. So Brave New World, I have one instance of it, and Victor has one instance of it. This would make it show that there are two books in the application. Maybe this can be solved by creating an anchor for each book. So, for example, let's say I'm looking for a specific book, right?
Mm.
And maybe, yeah, there are 10 instances of that book in the nearby cities and so on. Maybe I want those instances to be grouped so that I can see that they are the same book. Maybe it's 10 different instances or like actual copies of the book, but it's the same book. But maybe that's more for the future, because right now we can this will be usable. Maybe you won't have the relationship between the books that are the same, but I think we can work with this.
Just a question: is that something also that we could do in the front end? If you're loading up a whole bunch of books, and then you can filter, and then you can kind of merge a bunch of objects into one object in the UI, and then you can choose like which one of these people do you want to borrow it from.
Yeah, I think that's completely doable. The thing we will miss is, for example, if I want to tell the world I have a book, I mainly have to fill all the fields. Otherwise, maybe for example, if we did a book class separate from a book copy, maybe I can say, hey, I have a book copy of this book, and everything's filled already because someone else did it previously.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right on the read side of things. The front end can do a lot of merging. When you are creating a book, that creates difficulties. Well, difficulties. We could optimize things away if we separated the things. But I think that can stay as a future optimization, because this is not central part of the application. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. We can create a book, get a book with a certain address, get my book. So you would have a link from the agent address, which is the owner, to the books you own. And then the get owner function, this is the contract, right? So the interface that if I remember correctly, I think it's this way. So get owner is a special function that any zome that is going to be compatible with the loan zome has to implement, because the loan zome will call that function in order to see who is the owner of a certain item. So yeah, that way it's maybe here we can see that the book owner is codified inside the book, but maybe in another case the book owner is codified in a link or is somewhere else. So this is a generic way to say, okay, get me the owner of this book, because from the loans perspective we need to see who the owner is of a certain item. Yeah, then we have the loan zone. So we have a loan request and a certain loan. And here I think, yeah, let me see one thing very quickly, because yeah, I did some thinking about it, and maybe we could update it. Yeah, let me just 1 second. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can show this, but actually it's low quality. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Okay. So maybe I can like I can't. Well, okay. So I was thinking about this workflow because one thing we did not take into account is or at least that I remember, is the security aspect of the loans and requests. So what happens if someone tries to falsify that they did loan or they didn't loan some item to another person, things like that. And I was thinking that we could use counter signatures to deal with that case. And then so basically the basic pattern of counter signatures is two parties agree on a certain entry. In this case it would be a loan, right? So one party signs it, sends it to the other party, that party signs it, sends back the signature, and both commit that the entry to the chain. That way both parties have both signatures, and if someone tries to falsify or go, hey, I've been robbed or something like that, we could check that the person that's trying to falsify actually signed the entry. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't that implied, or isn't that implementing a loan request and then an acceptance of the loan? Like on the loan request, you would have the first person's or you could at least have the loaner's signature, and then on the when the or the borrower's signature, and then when the lender accepts the request, you would have the lender's signature. So wouldn't you be able to get a signature from both on that entry when you create the, or is that because you've created a request entry and that's different from the loan entry, and the loan entry doesn't have the borrower's signature? Because I mean the process is kind of like that, like you've been writing out, that you send the loan request is the request entry, and then you have the accept loan creates the loan entry. So what's difference in the process? Is it how do you get the signature from the borrower onto the loan? Is that the
So yeah, and now I'm thinking we could do things differently as well. But yeah, anyway, sorry. So in this case, yeah, let's see here. We have the loan request that's gonna be committed by the borrower, right? And this will have the signature of the borrower himself. But yeah, here we are separating the loan request from the loan. So the signature on a loan request will not be valid for a signature for a loan. Not so much because of the information being different or not, but because the actual entries look different. So I've been thinking maybe what we can do is actually, do you know about the update entry API call?
Not specifically, no.
Okay, so what we could do is just create one type of, yeah, sorry.
Hold on a sec. Sorry, I have my son is also here. We have
Okay.
yeah.
If you need to go or
No, it's fine. It's just my partner had to leave for a while, so unplanned. So I'm now also where actually the computer is babysitting.
Okay, okay. Right, so let me just bring the API reference, because I think we can simplify things quite a lot.
Okay.
In Holochain, everything is content addressable, but you have this date entry call, which is something of a, I don't want to call it trick, but it's a way in which you can simplify a lot of things. So what this could yeah, this what this does is basically takes an address of an existing entry and updates its content, basically. And internally, what it's doing is marking that that content, that old content, outdates it, and linking, pointing to the new version of that entry that will have another hash. But if you request it normally, when you do get entry for that address, the initial address, it will give you the latest entry content. So what I was thinking is that maybe with only one type of entry, it could be enough. And let me explain myself. Maybe what we can do is do only loans, right? And then, yeah, we have this structure, and then maybe do something like begin it option I64. So yeah, I don't know, begin it or start it at...
Yeah, begun or start. Start is good, I think.
Right. So what this could look like is when you create a loan, only an entry with item address, borrower address is created. And then when the lender accepts it, he updates it with the started at, and then both commit that entry to the source chain. So that way, basically, you are encoding in the version history of that entry the process of the loan. And we could even go further and say, okay, if I want to extend the period of time, we can actually automatically, through the same process, update the return by.
Yeah, like that.
So yeah, that and that, like, that enables us to take away all the links between loan request and loan and anything like that. It's very easy to see what loans are being so have started or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe we could even do something like started at and finished at. And if this is set, then it means that the loan already finished.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what do you think? I was thinking about this.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not sure how it will affect things like the amount of entries, but maybe it's not a big difference between having lots of links and having lots of entries. I mean, they're not very big entries, but it feels a really useful way to be able to tracking things over time, especially if you can just return the whole chain. Like if you're requesting the whole chain and you get all the updates, and you could display that, then you could see like, we this has been updated, like this has been reborrowed 3 times now or something. Like, I mean, that's something that's interesting also from a kind of reputation point of view, of like, this person always extends the loans, or maybe you don't want to have that, I don't know, but still, it's I like the idea of having the um, the availability of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but yeah, you're right. We can even make it better. What we can do is at first, let me see. At first, you create this only with the item address, and that basically what it does is that if you have the item address, you can compute very easily the loan entry for that item because you only have to hash it. And you can get directly all the loan entries in all that entries history. Right? So maybe let's say that this is optional, or maybe we can even do something like loan. Yeah, no, let's make it optional, and that's it. And the validation rules can have logic to say what states of these are valid. So let's say that at the end of at the beginning of this item life cycle, let's say, you commit an entry with only item address and hash, and all the other options are none, which in Rust means that they're not present. So and in subsequent loans and so on, you are updating that same loan, which is gonna have loan ID 1 as its ID. So load ID 1 now becomes item address and then borrower address when there is the first person that's gonna borrow it, address, and then you have the address of the borrower. And yeah, basically it's what you said. You have history of where the item.
Oh. The history of the entire book of like how even if it's different borrowers, you can still
exactly. It's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to use it or why it would be useful, but it's interesting that you have an entry following a book.
Right. That's also interesting because it makes it so that no two borrows can happen at the same time on the same book.
So where would you restrict? You'd restrict that in the so people can't. It wouldn't show up for people as possible to borrow somehow. Like if it's not if it's not marked returned, if it started at but not finished at, then it wouldn't be in the UI. It wouldn't be possible to ask to borrow that item.
Yes, not only in the UI, but basically on the validation rules of the update of the entry, it makes it so much easier because you can see if the current content of the entry is that the book has been loaned to someone or not. So that makes it like trivial.
Okay, cool.
I'm getting excited about this. And yeah, and the history of the item, maybe it could be useful for the owner. Himself.
And one thing to think about, we I don't know if we talked about this last time, but I know I've have talked about it yet, but it's something that I've thought about is implementing also like with books. It's probably the case that you either want to lend them, like we're talking about now, or that you've read it and you now no longer need to have it, so you'll send it on. So basically, you can ask to lend or to get, like, or actually you can put it up to say like, I'm not going to lend this, but you can have it because I've read it and I'm no longer in need of keeping it.
Okay.
Then that's but I mean this still works for that because that's interesting because then you have basically a different function that kind of
Hmm.
ends that entry and then starts a new one with the
Yeah.
person requesting it becoming the new owner of the
Yeah.
item, and so you're creating a new entry. Yeah, no, I like that. I really, it's yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I like
Okay.
it as well. Um, but then maybe this forces us to maintain the loan request, because we then have no way of, maybe imagine that a book has already been loaned to someone
Mm-hmm.
and I wanna borrow it. I have no easy way to say, hello, I want to borrow when you are done,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we have to maintain loan request as a very basic notification, maybe.
Yeah. Yes. That's like it's like a intent or something
Yeah,
that you can so you can even make a list of those with like a when it was requested, and
yeah,
then you can have like so you have an internal kind of schedule of who's next.
exactly. Oh, I like it. Hmm. And this has also, yeah, it's it's not trivial to go this zone. So I'm interested in doing so, in doing it. And I think the community can have a lot of learning. I myself can learn a lot of from implementing this zone.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, that will be a very good exercise. Um, the idea, if I recall correctly, is to do that on the on Portugal, right?
Mm-hmm.
In
I think
Lisbon.
so.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe what do you wanna do? Do you wanna modify? Yeah, maybe first, are you happy with this? Maybe you would change something?
No, I think it's good. I'm thinking. I was thinking whether or not there's more to think about when generalizing from books. If you go to like tools, is there something different in that, or cars or something? I mean, there will be specifics around. I mean, it's really nice actually to have the started at and finished at because then you can have, for instance, if you're paying for maintenance by how much you've been using it, that can be like a factor of like, okay, but you had the car for 3 days, then you
Mm,
get charged this amount of some credit. Uh,
yeah,
hmm. But
exactly.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if there's something else, but I can't think of anything right now. So let's start with that.
Yeah, maybe what we even can do is do like a message or description, I don't know, or comment. And this could be useful in more in the future than now, but in the future this could look like, um, hey, the book was returned in a bad state,
Mm,
there was some pages missing, something like that.
mm,
So you could see, like, even if you are the owner and you are not seeing the book as it goes around, you could
mhm.
see where it happened.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Like somebody, I mean, especially for other things, books maybe yeah, could be useful, but for things like the chain broke or something happened here, it's still working, you can
Yeah,
still use it, but there's something that happened here.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and both the lender and the borrower have to agree on
yeah,
that comment.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm happy with it.
yeah, me too. Okay.
So Do you wanna maybe go over the functions that are required to implement something like this?
Yeah, and they should be changed a little bit now, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, and maybe we can even get change it, because it's a little difficult to read them this way. We can change it like this, because this is now how they can be implemented in Holochain with the new macros, like this. Yeah, this is much easier to read.
So this is so now they're just function, arguments, and result.
Yeah, just normal functions.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, first one is request to borrow. That's basically creating a loan request, right? And yeah, okay, maybe here, yeah.
Yeah, so here's the, okay, we can keep it as a loan request. Yeah, that's, yeah. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, but what I would do actually is to write the borrower request from the internal zome functions.
Yeah, the borrowed, exactly. The my
Borrower
agent
address.
address, yeah.
Exactly. So here we could pass only the item address and the created ads.
And that should be also a timestamp made by the function when executing, no? Or would you want to put that in?
Yeah, the problem is that from the holochain conductor you don't have access to timestamp.
Okay.
So, and that's I don't know exactly why is that, but it has to do with the validation being deterministic.
Okay.
And things like that. So you can't use timestamp even in these little functions.
But
so
you can send the timestamp from the UI through the
exactly,
function. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know exactly if the holochain team decided explicitly to disable that, or if that's something that's not available when you are running WebAssembly in this sandbox environment they are running. I don't know exactly. All right. Yeah, this looks fine, right? We should actually thinking about it, we should have a way of saying this loan request is not longer valid. It's because it has converted to a loan, or either because the author decided to decline it. So
yeah, or that the person that wanted to borrow no longer wants to borrow. I mean, there are a number of options of, yeah.
Yeah. So we could use the update entry here as well, right? Which
I mean, you could do delete entry as well, no? I mean, instead of updating it, just marking it deleted.
Yes, you could do it.
Unless you want to use it again somehow. I mean, or updating feels like it is still, when you're updating something, it feels like it is still relevant, but no longer the same. Whereas deleting means right. It's like, yeah.
You're right. Yeah. We have to be careful then, because, for example, maybe the person that wants to borrow the book is waiting to see the result of that loan request, and then the owner declines it. The UI needs to have the loan request still, but I think that's doable, because you can say, hey, give me all the entries, even if they are deleted, if they are marked deleted. But yeah, we have to be a little careful about that, and that's all I think.
But then you probably would want to know also, maybe it's a little tricky, because then you would want to know, did I delete this in saying no, I no longer want the book, or did the borrower delete this? Because if the borrower deleted it and not me, then I want to be able to ask somebody else who has the same book. But if I deleted it, I don't want to see it show up in my UI.
Yeah, that's right.
So is there a way to check the agent signage on the delete? Like when you're marking an entry deleted, is that signed by the person or the actor that executes that?
That's an excellent question. I have no clue. Delete. No, it's remove. Sorry, it's remove entry. Yeah, correct. So what remove entry does, all it does is commit a deletion entry. So that deletion entry is also signed, so you can see who has deleted it. So yeah, we can still use delete.
Good. And we can just have the cases of yeah.
Okay, perfect. Right. Good. Okay. So, what else? Let's go through them. Get loan requests. Okay. Do you remember exactly which loan request does this function? Would this function return?
No,
Yours or
yeah. I mean, we started just implementing. Well, I mean, we didn't implement it really at all. So, but I'm not sure if we talked about it a lot. But I'm guessing, would it be useful to get any other loan requests than your own? Maybe if you want to see if you're on a waiting list. Or like, I mean, actually, no, not, yeah. You want to have both be able to see the loan requests that you've made, but you also want to see the loan requests that are made to a specific book, or like to any of the books that you own.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could say get my loan requests, and then okay. I suggest to do it this way: get each item loan requests, because yeah, if we implement the front end in a GraphQL fashion, I don't know if you're familiar with GraphQL.
Semi.
Okay, so with GraphQL, these kinds of requests from the front-end perspective become very, very easy. And the only thing that's required is basically a bridge in saying, for example, from a GraphQL query, you can start saying, okay, get all my items, and you have a list of your books, but they are items. And then if you say get all the loan requests for those items, you only have to bridge between getting loan requests for one item. So yeah, in that way, in one query from the front-end perspective and GraphQL perspective, that query can do a lot of queries to the holochain conductor. And this way, we simplify the function. So the function, it's much more simple this way than if we said get all loan requests for books that I own. That's a fairly complicated, because you have to get the links and then again the links from the links. So in that sense, GraphQL from the front end takes away the complexity here. That could be my suggestion.
Yeah, it sounds like a good way to go to me.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, good. Get item loan requests. Then this is assuming somewhat that the other zome implements a way of getting all my items. but that's responsibility of that zone, right?
Yeah, I mean that seems like a very, yeah. I mean that maybe that's, I don't know what will be proper practice of this, but it feels like that's something you can write in the description of the loan zone of like, these are the things that we assume will be available.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not even that this expects to call that function, is that there has to be some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's very, it would be very unreasonable not to be able to find all the things that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Good. So create a loan entry. Right. So here basically a zone API result address. And let's think what do we need here? So basically, and maybe even we can specify the high-level behavior of this. So, for example, create loan of a specific item, right? Maybe we could pass the loan request address as well. Oh no, actually that's better, because this automatically deletes the loan request, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we should definitely pass these loan requests at a request address.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then we also need for the loan to have unstarted at, and then not finished at, not comment, and just return by. Something like this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. Everything else is in the loan request.
Yeah. So we could, it would help me here, for example, if I was doing this alone, to like go through high-level steps of what this function needs to do, because it's like there are a lot of moving parts here.
Mm-hmm.
So here I should get the loan request. Get the loan entry actually. Why? Because if the loan entry does not exist, we need to create it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Create it only with its item address. Right? Because all the other loans need to be updates of this address we are creating here. And then we should update it, right? And that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think we can automatically update it, because if these parameters aren't right, or if the loan entry is not in a correct state, the validation rules are going to be called. So it won't be an issue here. Yeah, no, it won't be an issue. But then what we need to do lastly is delete the loan request. And we need to do it last because, for example, if we do it here, we are deleting the loan request before we are checking that the new loan is valid. So this would create inconsistency. Something like this, right?
I think so.
Right. Yeah. Then we have declined loan. We already talked a little bit about what should happen here, right?
Just deleting the request, right?
Yeah, exactly. And oops. And actually, we don't have to return anything. Basically, the zome API result always returns OK or error. So even if I say here that I'm not returning anything, if there is an error, I will see the error.
Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah, that it returns OK, and then in brackets it returns the address for the one above, for instance, the zome API address.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, this is a generic structure. So every time you make a call, a zone call, you can assume that that's going to be what's returned.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So retrieve the loans I already accepted. So these will be the loans. Actually, I don't know if that's necessary. Huh? I already accepted. So what we could do, let me think a moment. So get loan history. So we could say get loan history of a specific item. And this is a new one we couldn't get before, right? And this is gonna return
a vector of entries then, or is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's calling this get entry history. Yeah, it's all prepared.
Yeah. And that gets you, so that gets you a whole bunch of entries in.
Exactly.
And then you pick them apart to get the, okay.
Yeah, you have entry history. Entry history has an item of get entries. Yeah, beautiful. Good. So I think actually.
But I think maybe if you wanna, once you wanna, like there's return the loan. It's gonna be very useful for the application. Like actually finish. So the thing that creates the finished act entry.
Right.
And in order to return the loan, I, as the borrower, need to be able to get a list of the loans that I am currently have, because I need to choose one of them to return.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And that's both from. I mean, that's something also to maybe that needs thinking. But I mean, both theoretically, both the lender and the borrower should be in agreement about the thing being returned.
Yeah.
But either one should be able to initiate, and the other one should be prompted to say, yes, I concur about this information. Like, so either I, as when I go to return the book, I should be able to click and say I've returned it, or when the person receives the book, they should be able to click and say I've received it, and the other person gets to say, yeah, that was right.
The big question here is if that process needs to be needs to support the asynchronous case or the synchronous case. So in the synchronous one, where the two people maybe meet and they like actually physically exchange the book, it's easier because you use the send receive callback. So basically we could maybe even if we want to make it secure, and if we are talking about high value objects, maybe from a mobile phone we could scan the QR code of the other mobile phone, and that way that sends the signature so that both commit that to the source chain immediately. And updates are only valid if the two people dealing with the update have signed the entry.
But I think in most cases, in like 90% of lending, asynchronous would be really useful, because you just want to leave it somewhere, and especially if you have it stored at a, I mean, I'm thinking about vehicles and tools and stuff, which you might want to have stored at a certain location when you have like a lockbox for the key or something. So then you don't want to, then you really want to have an ability to leave it asynchronously. I mean, that's a different case though. I haven't thought much about that, but like if you're using this as a like common pool, that becomes a bit different. Like if the counter signature is a group, or is like, yeah, I don't know. It's too different. Let's not go into it. But
yeah, but no, I agree basically in the asynchronous case. So what we could do, because I'm thinking about the validity.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking it would be very similar to the loan request, is the return request. And the other and that has, and if as soon as the other person validates that request, that would then trigger the update function of the loan,
Right,
and then delete that request. No?
Okay, but then the validation rules of the loan entry would depend on that other entry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that means that you are beginning to request that all the chain gets sent from one place to another in order to validate.
Okay, is there a better way to?
Yeah, maybe what we can do is say, for example, when a person updates an entry, that update gets signed exactly as when you commit an entry. So what we could do is, okay, if the update is signed by only one person, that's still valid, that's okay. But you can't update that entry until the tip of the history has the two signatures, so the borrower and the lender. So in this case, it's like, yes, this update has happened, but nothing can happen until the two people actually make the call update entry of that entry, basically. So that way, the person who's returning the book basically will always be signing that update entry, and then nothing can happen until the person who is the owner signs that as well. And basically that means
clicking,
accepting, clicking, and in the from the zone perspective, clicking update entry. Calling update entry again. That's exactly the same. I think
So there's a function in the API called sign entry or something that basically just signs an entry, or is that an update? Is that an update entry as well?
I think it should be the same update entry call.
So you're just updating the entry, but not changing anything. You're just signing that it's now correct.
Yeah, I think this should be possible. Yeah.
I mean, otherwise you'd have two entries. I mean, that's also doable, but you would have to check like this entry and the previous entry. Like if it's like countersigning, if that would include always updating an entry, but that feels like it's not feels like it's a pattern that should be already thought about in other things. So maybe, yeah, just being able to sign something.
So there is this signed sign API call.
Okay.
So I think in the worst case scenario, this can be used for sure. My feeling is that update entry with the same content commits, so only adds a signature, because at the end of the day, you will be committing the same entry as the other person committed at the same new entry. And when two people call commit entry on the same entry, what they are actually doing is committing only one entry and adding two signatures.
Okay, yeah.
To the metadata of
that
that
makes
entry.
A lot of sense, yeah.
So I think we should be good here. Right. So for example, here, these simplifications we've done allow us happily allow us to say something like finish loan, and we don't even need to pass the loan request or the last address, because this will give us the last entry for this item, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes trivial.
Yeah.
And this, maybe this has to be called, I think this has to be called from both perspectives, so from the borrower and from the lender, right? I think the same API call will be enough.
1 second, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay. Back.
Right. So if you need to go, that's fine.
It was fine. It was just my kid needed to go to the bathroom.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I think we are already like towards the end, right? So here, yeah, I've done the finish loan function. I think this has all we need, and I even, well, let's say the borrower clicks finish loan, so the item has been delivered and so on, and then the lender maybe, Yeah, it basically has to call the it basically has to call this function with the same parameters. Otherwise, well, because I'm thinking of complicated cases. So, for example, the borrower returns it, and maybe this finished at is not correct, or the comment, the owner doesn't like the comment, so it's like, hey, no, there's actually something wrong with the item. You should comment on it. So maybe there could be a back and forth. So, for example, let's say that the borrower says that there is no comment, and then the owner says, "Hey, this this comment should be attached to it." So they could like keep updating the entry until both agree, something like that.
Yeah.
And then when both agree, the Finnish loan cannot be called anymore.
So it's some sort of intermittent process, like. But that's after somebody has started submitting a finish, and until it's really finished, there needs to be a process handling this somehow.
Yeah, but I think that update entry actually covers it, because what each of the participants will be doing is updating the information, right? So, for example, I update the comment, you don't like it, you update the comment, I don't like it, I update the comment, and then we both like it, and we both commit the same entry. I think.
So you're just sending the entry between each other before you're committing it. Is that
no?
You just keep committing more, so it's just going to be a line of like 3 committed entries.
Yeah, exactly. Then maybe it could make yeah, actually it won't make it more complicated on the front end, because you have to group entry history anyway. So maybe when a person has lent some book, that's gonna be like 4 or 5 entries here, all the process, right? So basically, in the front end, you will have to group them.
Yeah. So let me just change my location. Yeah.
So you have to do that grouping thing anyway. So I think it's a good idea to do it this way.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I'm thinking whether or not it would affect things like finished by, like if you're doing all these different things, it will, but maybe it's not a problem. Like if you're passing it past, maybe yeah, I think it'll be fine. I'm just not exactly seeing how. Maybe it doesn't matter that there are so many updates in between, and that the chains get, or like the linking gets really long, and but maybe it's not actually. Maybe that's not even an edge case. I mean, most of the time it would be a comment or no comment, and it's not an issue.
Yeah, and I think for the MVP, we could see if that works, and maybe if it gets to we can change it. But I think this should be usable and the easiest to implement.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we only need now to have a way of getting the loans. So this get my loans or something like get loan history, right? So with this you can see basically all the books you own, where they are. So you can do a little bit of a filtering on the front end. I think that should be, or maybe not. Maybe we could do something like get loan status, and then this only gets you. Yeah, I think this will be more efficient. This only gets you the last. Yeah, this only gets you the last entry. So if, for example, you're only interested in the state of your books now, you are not interested in the whole history of the thing, this would be much more efficient because it will only need to go through one link that's between the item entry that keeps getting updated and the actual tip of the chain. Otherwise, returning the whole history can be more expensive, right? If you for example want to list items, maybe it's expensive to go request all the history of all of it, all of them, especially if the DHT is quite big. So I think we can do this get loan status, and then yeah, this returns an entry. Okay, what else? Get my loans. Maybe we need a way. Yeah, we definitely need a way from the borrower's point of view to see all their active loans. Otherwise, they can't go, hey, return.
Yeah.
Get my active loans, right? Active loans. So here we should. Oops. Yeah, how should we do this?
I mean, you only have that information in the. You'd have to go through all of the loans. Otherwise, you need to link. You need to link also because the borrower address is in the entries.
Yeah.
And that's maybe not a great. I mean, maybe you have a when you create a loan, you also create a link to yourself.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And we could, yeah, this is somewhat not trivial as well. So I think this will be a very interesting zone to implement because you actually need to link to the intermediate entries, right? Not the firstly,
yeah,
the first item entry with only the item address, right? Because you are only concerned about at least a period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, this should be doable, but it should require some fancy linking.
Yeah, it would have to link at the time that a loan is created, and then it would have to delete the link at the time.
Yeah.
So you have so that when you do the link, you need to be able to have access to the create entry that was just made, or the update entry. Actually, the update entry that was just made.
Yeah, exactly. Here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I think once you finish that loan, you remove.
Yeah. You need to remove the link.
Yeah, I think that's a good pattern. Yeah. Hmm?
So the link is like an active loan, and they will be like
Yeah.
turned on and off. Like you'll create them and then they go away, whether you mark them deleted.
Yeah. Between. Oops. If double signature. Yeah, good.
Mm. So they would have to check if the last update is the update.
Yeah.
No.
But I think that's doable. You can see somewhat easy with this function get entry result. It basically can return the metadata of the entry, right? So here you have, for example, this. Yeah, you have the headers, and then you have here the. Oops, where are they? Yeah, this is the metadata. It should, yeah, provenances. Yeah, provenances are basically a list of agent address and signatures.
Okay.
So from inside the zome, you can go see where the entry has been signed by the two people or not. Accepted. Yeah.
I have active mail.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's quite better design than what we got the last time.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, that feels doable. What so we have that, and we have the book.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And we have the book thing is pretty easy. I mean, that's also. Did you run the test? Did the tests go okay or no?
Actually, I think I did run the test, but I don't know if they are
Relevant.
yeah, it was just a dummy test.
Okay.
What
check
branch?
maybe my branch, I'm not sure, or Hedayat's branch, maybe, I'm not sure. Oh, let me have a check here as well.
Yeah, wait, because I restructured some of the some folders. Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, good. Okay, I think we can do this like now. Try to run them because Triorama is working now. I think we can try to port them. Do you want to do that?
No, feel free to do it if you want to. I would have to. I don't have the latest. I would have to just clone. I can do that, of course, but if you have it up and running.
Yes, I think we can do it. My computer is starting to complain, but yeah, good. Okay, so basically I reorganized the folders because when booting the holochain, So basically doing HC run, it tries to look for a JSON file. That's the app.json, this one. And if you have the UI at the same level, it confuses that with these JSON files here.
Okay.
So you basically have to separate both. Oops, misclick. Okay, good. Okay, so these are the tests that are supposed to work. There are some differences between diorama and triorama. The first difference is that we have orchestrators, an orchestrator now, and the major difference is that instead of receiving the Alice player instance here in the test, you have to actually create the players inside the test. And that's quite useful because you can simulate very complex scenarios. You basically are booting up a conductor here. And I think actually we should pass through because we want them to be, yeah, spawn, yeah. We want that Alice to be active. And then you can do things like kill or maybe go offline for a bit, things like that. So you can check very complex network states. But in our case, it's just copying and pasting this line. That's it. Yeah, we have some bugs here. Okay, good. The other thing I think it was Sunday, I tried to do some of these more complicated tests with a lot of players and so on. It's better to have sim2h running in your computer, because if not, they basically don't talk to each other.
Okay.
That's quite easy once.
So you mean you want to set up a sim2h server, or like you want to set it pointing at your own computer and have that not have it pointing to some other.
So I think I haven't done like a lot of research on this, but it should be possible to have tests only running in your local machine and have the conductors talk to each other. I personally haven't got that working. What I've been able to do is, if we go into the Nix shell, let's see if this loads fast. It should. Okay, so basically now here you have this new sim2h command, and that's it. You have a sim2h server up and running in your local machine, port 9000, and then here you specified this network pointing to the sim2h, and then you have the conductors talking to each other.
Okay.
This is, I don't want to do it now because this is not required by these simple tests, but for the loans request zome test, that would be definitely a requirement. Okay, so yeah, here we could do const that's result.org. Some.parse. Okay. I think with this we should be all right. I don't know if the test will pass, but at least I think we will be able to
compile
to see them working. Yeah. Oops. No such file or directory. Oops. Like so yeah, subconscious.
Yeah.
Subconscious betrayed me a little bit. I was like, what? No, this can't be. Oh, actually, we have an error here. So call. Oops. Right, and then like this. Oh wait, actually params. I think params don't have to be specified. Like this. Yeah, and this return by
Right.
64.
But this, I mean,
no.
the loan tests. I think I
Oh,
wrote the loan
yeah.
test, but they won't be, not for what we've just talked about. They're not relevant, are they?
Yeah.
We've done a different structure.
That's right.
So
So
we can
maybe
just do that. We can maybe just delete them and do the book ones, and
yeah.
just we'll need to rewrite the loan.
Yeah. I think we can delete all of this, right? Because
Yeah.
Yeah. For now, I mainly want to see the tests at least booting up, and then if we need to fix them, we can do that at in Lisbon or time. But yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing. Oh no, actually this is the scaffold test, so we don't need that anymore. Yeah, good. And Triorama, actually, when it works, it's quite nice. It's quite nice because it gives you a lot of flexibility. You even have the option now to connect to remote servers, remote nodes, and run tests against them. So you could be talking directly to conductors and things like that.
So you would have to know where those servers are, no? Like you'd have to specify an IP or something.
Yeah, exactly. You're basically passing an URI in or URL, I don't know exactly. But you're passing the address basically of the machine you want to connect to, and maybe some credentials, something like that. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like in a production or continuous integration process in the long run. Okay.
So, well, it's working. We have the books. We can create books, and we can start working on creating the loan functionality. We have the scaffold for that. I'm thinking when you were working on UI last time, you were mostly doing the connection between, or what was the work you were? Was that creating the UI, or was that?
I think it was more on the components, and oh my god, I did break Redux. Not yet. Delete the state things. It's not necessary. And yeah, I basically created like basic web components to display basic version of the books and so on.
Mm.
But I never got the chance to test it against real things. So
What were you working in when you created them? Did you have, was it like storybook, or did you just do just create them in the and check them in the browser?
I don't even think I don't remember actually, but I don't even think I ever saw
No,
them.
you just wrote the code.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I just wrote the code, and when I was at the point of beginning to connect things and put them up, we finished
Yeah.
that day. With GraphQL is somewhat easy to integrate, and it gives you such amount of flexibility
Mm-hmm.
when you are writing components. So in my project the underscore protocol, we are beginning to integrate GraphQL as of maybe 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it has just been a pleasure
Mm-hmm.
working with GraphQL integrated, working through the graph, not having to implement weird endpoints for concrete use cases, but just asking what you want. And in holochain applications, more than other applications, because you can just traverse links like
Mm-hmm.
it's unbelievably easy.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the first interface of this too.
Hmm.
I mean, there were the components from, and I don't know, like there's some styling and stuff that could be useful
Mm-hmm.
when we looked at the old stuff, but I'm not sure how
Mm-hmm.
useful it is. But because I don't think have you done a bunch of styling in here? You haven't really. I mean, I see some,
No.
but no.
No. I think I only did, yeah. These are like my classic base CSS classes to distinguish row from column, which
Yeah.
is basically this, but no more styling apart
Yeah.
from that. What I was basing my thing off was yes, this small library of web components implementing material design.
Uh-huh.
But that's all the style
Yeah.
I guess I have in the application. And actually those components can be modified by CSS as well. In this case, though, CSS works a little different than usual because we are working with custom elements.
Mm-hmm.
So these are basically elements that can be interpreted natively by the browser. And basically what the browser does is encapsulates the CSS in the elements, preventing that CSS from going out and coming in.
Okay.
It's something like a live iframe.
Okay.
It's called Shadow DOM. I don't know, maybe I have an instance here. Like, no, I've closed it. I've closed it. That's, I don't know, maybe with this. I'm just telling you because I think this, yeah, no.
Yeah.
This will be one very interesting pattern we could see in web development, but in particular in holochain development,
Mm-hmm.
because now these elements are natively supported in all browsers. So basically, you can write this element and have it included in any front-end application.
Mm-hmm.
So in React,
Okay.
in
Yes.
Angular, in Vue, in jQuery, even in vanilla, you don't have
So
to do anything; they work.
the element comes with its own it's its own visual
Exactly.
parameters. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. and it offers customization options in the form of CSS variables. So you could say something like, main color, or my main color is this, right? So with this, what you are basically doing is saying, here is my default for this CSS variable, but anyone that uses this component from the outside can override that variable. And then once you use that variable inside your component, you know exactly where to put it, and you're basically writing components as though they were functions, more or less, that can receive CSS. They can, but only what you specify. They can receive some HTML, but only what you specify. They can receive some properties, but only what you specify. So it's in the sense that it's like encapsulated general web behavior. So it's kind of a light iframe. Yeah, I'm so excited we can do this now on the web. So excited. Okay. So we are getting the same error that he's looking and finding a lot of package JSON. Why is that? Oh, interesting. Okay, maybe I can do. Oh, I think we have to date diagram actually. Chain. Good. And now, yeah, we can't do anything. Let's try again with the new version. Fortunately, the compiling thing, at least 99% of the process is already done and cached. So
that's quicker.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's compiling it all into WebAssembly?
Yeah.
And then, okay. And then that whole compiled thing gets loaded into a conductor.
Exactly.
Oh.
Actually, the compiled code gets
stored
put in the stored in this big ash. So yeah, this is WebAssembly code encoded in, I don't know exactly what kind of encoding, but it's encoding it. And then the conductor reads it and knows how to interpret it. Okay, I don't know exactly why is that, but what we could do is go to the test and actually, right, no? Oops, we got that wrong.
Oh, old.
Yeah. Hooray! Good.
Failed to test. Perfect.
Yeah, we got tests. Yeah, and the error is, I don't see the error.
I
Remember, if
think
we
the
create
books.
conductor exited before starting interface.
Or maybe not, or maybe we don't have them. Could not. Okay, okay, yeah,
It's still
good. Yes, so this is because this DNA file now is different. It's not mailbox. It's not this one. It's this one. But we are close. Okay, yeah, we got the conductor running now. Yeah, that's the, at least we know that's the tests are running. User address is not defined. Yeah, we got the test running. What I can do is put here the npm test
script. Yeah, so that we avoid that. It's a weird issue that you can't do HC test here, but actually it's the same. HC test only does additionally is compile the your source code before running the tests.
okay.
Yeah, that's all it does. Okay, should I commit this?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, we can commit this.
And I wonder if we should, for the loans thing that we just did, to just remake the zome. I don't know, because then if you use that protocol or the Rust, at least last time we used that create. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like the one that there were two different ways of writing the macros, and there was the new one and the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we already did the new one with the Rust proc.
Oh yeah, Rust proc. That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, is there something in the loans that is worth the loan request, loan like that? I think that can all be overwritten. I don't think there's a lot in there, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And actually the API source of Holocene hasn't changed that much since the last time, so I think we can just change this. We don't need to recreate it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mainly the same. It's just that the function names and how many they are and so on has to be changed. But I think that's it.
Okay, and either we can. Do you want to comment in the things we worked on in the HackMD, or should we just link, or should we just have a link to the HackMD and do it?
I can maybe I can link because I don't want to put all of those because then it won't compile.
Okay. Yeah.
But maybe we could put it as a comment as well. I don't know what do you like the most?
Just thinking where to put the link. I guess you could just put it at you could just put it in the README for the project of like current design or something.
Do you have a preferred location for?
No, maybe I'll go up a little bit before possible steps. So you can have like just a little, just do another.
Yeah, the design. Yeah.
Somewhere there.
Hey guys.
Hey Rafi.
Oh. What a surprise. How are you?
I saw that. I saw that check-in.
Yeah, good. We were just finishing. Oh yeah, sorry.
Cool.
Yeah, right. So maybe we can finish here. Victor, do you think we should do anything else?
No, I think we're pretty good. Yeah, I can just for Rafi, and maybe just as the end of the video too, to just wrap up that we've done we've done a design for the loans zone. We've already got the design and code for the book zone. So basically, if we implement those two, we should be able to have an app. We have gone through getting the testing working, and we maybe have the testing working. It should be something is the tests are being run at least, even if they're not passing. Yeah, and there we are. So I think we have pretty good place to start from if we go for the hackathon. Yeah, should be good. Maybe we can get a working
Brilliant.
prototype. And I'll put the video out if people want to walk through because it's like a walkthrough of the thinking around the loans, which is being designed to function for more than just books also. So
Awesome. I was thinking of just quickly creating a YouTube channel that we can upload the videos for the community business.
yeah,
Then I'll send you an invite.
Yeah,
so you can upload.
I'll do that.
Cool. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So yesterday we talked a bit, just like a quick recap.
Yeah.
We talked mostly about the skill set. I talked with Eric before about, and he said that what he would like from us is to have a really clear kind of set of skills and a profile that then he can basically support us with the knowledge we need from Holochain, and he can also forward projects to us basically. Because that's really where they are at. That they have some projects that are interested, but they don't have the developers or the knowledge. And yeah, so for example, we can get lessons with Arthur himself about app architectures and stuff.
Yeah,
it's actually really exciting. Yeah.
Cool. I also started writing something in the spreadsheet around roles. Like if you want to operate it as an organization or as a business, be useful to have things
brilliant.
like so
I added I think one or so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I also added in the main sheet with the members this lists with I think what I just defined as for now as the key offers or key skills we're having. And then we can expand or cut down or focus more. But what I said yesterday is, for example, that we have focus on a few kind of skills, and then we can have kind of a list with all the other skills that we have. Kind of like what are we specialized on, and then also have a network of our more generalized skills, basically.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Oh, sounds like exciting times are coming.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Okay, great. Rafi, we should add the because I've not seen it yet. I should add my skills to that profile, right, to the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stop the recording. Sorry.